Well, ladies and gentlemen, the offseason continues here for the Philadelphia Union, and we will continue to talk about it. We have some good news and some bad news here today, but welcome everybody to today's edition of PHLY Union Podcast. Of course, I am one of your hosts, JP Zapata. Join as always with the lovely Renee Washington. And of course, we have Andrew Frazier behind the glass. And how are we feeling here today? It's a nice Tuesday. It's getting cold. It's getting chilly. It's feeling like fall, but we don't have teams in the playoffs anymore, but it's still nice. Still nice out, right?
You could have just, you didn't have to. That question got really loaded really fast. It went from how we feel today, the weather's nice, and the team's out of the playoffs. I don't know. Depending on which part of that question I am answering determines how that response will be. I don't know. I feel like today's a weird Tuesday. I feel great, though. I feel great. I feel like I'm excited. We're
definitely goofy in the office here today.
Yeah, it's a goofy vibe.
It's a goofy day.
It's definitely a goofy vibe, which is, I think, needed. I think we all need a smile and a laugh. Lately, it's been a rough time with our teams alone.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is Philadelphia sports that we cover every day.
Down bad.
So it's not always great. It's not always fun, but we try to bring something joyful to everyone every day. And so we have a loaded show here today. Obviously, we have news to talk about here with the Philadelphia Union. At 1:30 today, ladies and gentlemen, we will be blessed to have on again our dear friend Jimmy King, great writer for Philly Sports Network, does a great job covering the U. And a great job. I enjoy Jimmy's walks through Philadelphia and his coffee pictures. We love our coffee shops here in Philadelphia, so it's gonna be fun with Jimmy. We'll catch up. He had interesting tweets that we'll dissect later, and we'll debate as well. As Renee already wants to start off the ad reads here today with one of our friends, but
I'm dying.
We'll get into it here for everyone. Let's start off with the good. This was a little bit older news as well. We weren't live for it, but the Philadelphia Union did announce the extension of our own Quinn Sullivan. That's right. The 20-year-old homegrown signs a contract that'll last through 2027. There will be an option for 2028. The 20-year-old signs the U22 initiative deal. He gets that deal for himself, which is great to see because the fact is Quinn Sullivan had a fantastic year last year. He was one of our most contributing attackers on the attack, and he was getting grossly underpaid. And obviously when you're a homegrown, you make a certain amount of money, but now he gets the U22 deal. So the thing is here, and this is what a lot of people are going to debate, obviously, Quinn deserves to get paid, right? He had a fantastic year. He played over 2,400 minutes. He had 5 goals and 11 assists. And he felt like he was contributing a lot more than he was ever in his MLS career. But as we all know, the U22 initiative, it doesn't really hurt your salary cap. So obviously, these young players will get paid probably what they deserve, but it doesn't hurt the team's salary cap, which everyone now, again, can point out that the Union are being cheap yet again. But we still have an offseason, so we're going to have to wait and see before we do make those judgments. But when you just dealt with, yet again, another offseason last year where they really didn't spend too much, people are going to start bringing that up again. But Quinn definitely deserves it. So one example I do want to point out real quick, Diego Luna of RSL. Great winger. I love his style of play. A lot of our American national team fans out there know Diego Luna very well as well. He signed an extension before this year, but he was under the U22 initiative as well. He had a base salary this year of roughly around $448,000. And he did play over 2,200 minutes, and he had 8 goals and 12 assists. So that's just like an example for everyone out there. But Renee, more Quinn Sullivan going forward.
Yeah, I was excited for this, actually. It broke right after our show. And listen, we've been seeing some news. It was Jeremy Raffanella's contract. It was Quinn Sullivan's contract. We're seeing some of these off-season moves to lock in some of this young talent. And I think Quinn Sullivan, as we talked about the homegrowns a lot, especially last episode, is one of those guys that took major strides. I mean, you read the impact he made statistically. Of course, for him to have a season where he was able to lead the team in games played, it was him and Kai Wagner that logged the most and played the most games, was also top in the team in shots, was also top in the team, second in assists with those 11. To make some history as the first homegrown player to have a multi-assist, double-digit assist season, Quinn Sullivan, beyond even just the stats, from game one was different. And I remember us talking about him being one of the players that was the most consistent, the runs he was making, the aggression, the energy, and just the fact he was trying to be creative at a time at that point where the offense wasn't really contributing was something that was a bright spot. And the encouraging thing is he continued that the entire season.
Yeah.
You can rarely point at a game that Quinn Sullivan struggled or didn't show up. He was one of the guys that down the stretch, I mean, you look at the last few games of the regular season, it's goals, it's assists, it's game-changing plays. So I thought it was well-deserved for him to get this contract. So now with him guaranteed through 2027 with a club option into 2028, you at least can build on him around him for the future.
For sure.
And I think this offseason, and I know we're going to talk about it here on the show, it comes down to who does the Union feel confident and comfortable building around.
Yeah.
You know, who are those guys that have that blue collar, bought in, team first mentality that are willing to do wherever you put them. Quinn is that guy. He can be the 10. He can be a forward. He can be an outside midi. He has so many different roles he can play. He works back defensively. And so I think he's one of the pieces I'm encouraged that they're looking to build around him because this was a great season for him. And he was one of the few consistently good areas of this team that you knew you could kind of count on in any moment.
Yeah, I mean, to echo a lot of what you both just said about Quinn, he was one of my star players this entire season. He was impactful. He was dynamic. He was always involved in any scoring play. He was always there. He was consistent. And being so young that he is a foundation piece. You know, we've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks about like building this foundation for the Union. And he is certainly one of those mainstay pillars for this team. He has a bright future ahead of him for this team. He's going to bring a lot of goals to this team, a lot of scoring, a lot of chances for you to win big games. And I'm certainly glad that they signed him and they gave him that money. And I know there might be that discrepancy about the U22 and like paying him and being cheap. We will talk about that in the offseason. If they decide to bring in more talent, some bigger name talent, that might be on a plus end on that because then you can use that money for bigger names. So we'll see what they do in the offseason, the Union in the front office. But I'm super happy about this guy being here.
Yeah, and honestly, to add to that, because you brought up something that I thought of as well, when you talk about the youth and building the foundation and a pillar of the Union, you know, the career high 5 goals in the regular season, the 11 assists. He also was one of just 5 guys ever across the league to have double-digit assists under the age of 21, and was one of 2 players to the Union that played in every single regular season contest. And that's something that Ernst Tanner was speaking about, his maturity, his growth, his ability to show up in every game. And that's how you perform this season, when you play every single game and you are getting assists, goals, and actually your best production came at the end of the season.
Yeah.
In the beginning, he was finding his footing, missing some opportunities, so a lot of almost. Actually got more refined as the season went on. So I know JP and Andrew, as we always look at like who is the guy or who are the guys that can be the face of this club? Who are the guys you can build around for this team? And Quinn, I'm confident in what he can bring for this club for the future as the foundation, as this guy that does get it, especially after Kai Wagner's comments last game to
You read
in
my
the
mind,
postseason.
Renee.
I feel like that's where you're going.
You read my
As Kai
mind,
Wagner's
Renee.
talking after the game about some guys don't care. Some guys are too focused on vacation. He pointed at some homegrowns, but it didn't sound like it was just homegrowns. I don't think Quinn Sullivan is that guy. I think he's one that gets it.
Well, I guess we'll find out, right? At the beginning of the
Bum,
year.
bum, bum.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I don't think he's one of those names that he was. I mean, look at him how he played this season. How can you go and say that he wasn't somebody who wasn't bought in, who wasn't trying, you know? He was. I mean, he was involved in every game, you know, so.
Yes, but we do need to mention, though, we've all seen players who perform very well. And I'm not speculating anything, all right? I'm just me thinking out loud. Obviously, like what you do on the field is great, but there are examples where in the locker room they, you know, your posture is not upright, like your vibes, right, don't seem so positive. And obviously, he's a little bit younger, so that definitely can come into play. But I'll wait and hold reservations until we actually see him next year. But listen, when you perform, you deserve to get compensated. And he performed, and he absolutely deserved to get compensated. And so, obviously, look, after what Kai said, I definitely thought about it as well. But again, what Frazier said is definitely legitimate because, look, he did go out there. He had his best season. And the fact is that we talked about it earlier in the year. he solidified that right shuttle position. And that's tough because who did he replace? A club legend, now Montoya. And so he took that. And I want to say a quick shout out to our friend Michael Barrera. We're going to have to get him back on the show.
Oh, yeah.
As he's checking in. Yes, Jimmy King, again, 1:30 p.m. We will have Jimmy King in from Philly Sports Network. We'll be talking, everything we're talking about right now, we'll talk with Jimmy as well. He's a fantastic writer that we have here in the city. One of the best impact players on our team at 20. That's crazy. 20 years old.
I know.
Insane.
Sky's the limit for Quinn, especially as Kevin develops more. As I know, Renee, part of the Phillies team here. Nick Castellanos of the Union, consistent all year long.
Basically.
Played pretty much every match that he could.
He did.
Yeah.
Quinn played every He actually has the Nick Castellanos. It's a good comparison. It was even more production, I would say.
I'm sure he's popular with the ladies too.
Yeah. Nick Castellanos, Mr. 162 regular season games, and Quinn, Mr. All regular season games as well. So, yeah, I mean, anytime you have a player that can actually play every single game and perform, because that's the other thing. Like, you can play every game and you're fatigued, you're tired, you're injured, you're struggling. That's one thing. But to get better as the season goes on and at least maintain that like, at the very least, what you got from Quinn was a solid performance. What, Andrew?
No, I'm thinking he didn't pull an Anthony Richardson.
Oh,
or tapping out
no.
because he was exhausted because of a play.
No.
He was involved and, he played.
Yeah, because anybody can play every game. That's not the hard part.
Yeah.
Can you actually play hard every game, be out there, make an impact, score goals, get assists? So, yeah, and I think to Michael Wolfinger's point in the chat, and nice to have you here, all the Michaels showing up, saying next season, he feels like Quinn is going to be one of the top players for the team and felt like he was merely tapping his potential near the end of this one. It did feel that way. Like, he's trending in the right direction, but it doesn't feel like we saw the best of Quinn Sullivan yet.
Yeah.
No,
and he's a great motivator. I mean, we were talking about Kevin. We on our last episode, we talked about, I brought the question up, how does Kevin like kind of influence these guys? And we were talking about those comments that Kai made. And does that impact like the younger guys? And being that Quinn is his brother, it's his older brother, that's a huge motivator. I know for me at least, if I had a younger brother or an older brother who was like being scouted by Manchester City or, and had this incredible career ahead of him, like I in return would also want to have that. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a very make or break. And just seeing his performance, this past season, it really showed to me that like he's in it to be the best he can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so look, he's super significant. We talked about last episode the state of the homegrowns and the youth academy, and like it does feel like it took a little bit of a standstill when you consider like in 2020 the impact that Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson had not only on the current team but going forward. Like just what Andrew just said, like aspirations. How do I envision myself if this is what this player could do? I can do the same thing too. And for right now, Quinn is the face of the homegrowns that's currently here in Philadelphia. And look, next year, one thing I'm definitely going to keep an eye out is, look, he's done everything right. His workload has been there. He's been hustling. He's been in every single bit of attack. I love also the chemistry he has built with Nathan Harriel out as those guys have kind of been like outlet options for each other. But being more clinical in the final third, that is definitely something that I will be looking at here. That's something that he kind of not struggled but could improve upon going into this year.
Of course.
In that final third, how clinical can you be? Obviously, we saw, the one goal that was scored in the final match of the year. That's a tough shot to make, but consistently being clinical in that final third is something that we're going to have to watch out for.
And that's a great point. I think that's the next step of his evolution, and that comes with maturity to be composed in those spaces, especially in the attack. If you're the guy, he's such a high energy player, and you want to be able to bottle that energy and refine a way that you're still playing up tempo, but you're not playing to the point that you're forcing things, you're rushing, and your final touch, your final shot, your final pass is like kind of out of control. So I think if he can find a way to balance that energy, the tempo, the runs, that's what makes him great. But the next level is he has to find a way to now have that translate into more goals, into more assists, into being a player that is even just like those final attempts to be more threatening versus it just being like, oh, he got there and then he's dribbling out of bounds. Yep. Or, oh, he got there and that final shot is like completely off the mark. More shots on target, more crosses, more everything, Quinn. That's all we want. Yeah. But I know, what's up, Will, John Peace, and John Peace is a good point. We'll talk some Union too around the Eastern Conference Finals. I do want to have a quick question before we pause for a break because this contract has me thinking, I know, and I'm going to tee this up because I know we'll have way more time to talk about this we talk so much about the union cannot just get it done with the homegrowns. They need more pieces. They need more veterans. They need more experienced guys as well. With this homegrown group, who are you most confident building around, and who do you think could essentially you be comfortable letting go? Or is it like keep this whole group and don't add any more homegrowns? Because that's like the whole thing too. If everyone talks about the homegrowns, ourselves included, but who are you not wanting in that group, if that makes sense?
It's tough because we all know what they're trying to do with these homegrowns. Eventually they're going to sell these homegrowns. And that's always like the tough part when we're talking about these players. That's the goal, right? Like you develop them, you create the culture, and then eventually they sell them off. Like Jack McGlynn's one guy, obviously Jack on the left, Quinn on the right. You know, that's what you would expect to be the shuttlers. And I don't know what the prospects are for Jack now. And obviously the winter period is tough. We're looking probably selling these players more in the summertime. But, you know, Jack kind of took a little bit of a regression simply because to me, like I expected him to take another step defensively. And this may be who he is for sure, but that's like the one thing Jack really does need in his game. Like he's not going to ever be the fastest player on the pitch, but his IQ is always there. The way he creates, his vision on the pitch is ridiculous. But that's something that definitely needs to we need to keep an eye out. I mean, we saw Makanya. I mean, it doesn't seem like he's going to be coming up, or he's more of a U22, not really necessarily a homegrown, but. You know, you look at some of the guys like kind of in the pipelines, your Andrew Ricks, you know, your Quinn Sullivans, David Vasquez's. Obviously, Kevin and a lot of people are going to have expectations for him next year to actually be within the rotation, be someone that does come off the bench. But I mean, like, obviously right now, the three that everyone's looking at is Quinn, Jack, and Nate.
Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, because I feel like every time we talk homegrowns, we think of those three. And there are more. I know in the chat, you know, we look at guys like Westfield and CJ Only, and you know, there's some other Union 2 guys there. There are those ones that are on the brink, the Macanyas, that are the young players that we don't see as much. Some more Union 2 players. So
your boy Marcus Anderson's been looking
Marcus
solid.
Anderson, exactly. Andrew Rick. So I just feel like, to me, I'm fine with what Quinn, Jack, and Nate bring to this lineup. I think that I do feel like Jack of the three took a bit more of a regression, but I also feel like he had higher expectations than the other two.
Mike's bringing up a good point too. Maybe it is the system, because I do agree. Like, I don't know if he necessarily fits in a diamond.
Yeah.
I think in an ideal world, he would be in a 4-2-3-1 where he's more of a holding defensive mid alongside a more defensive-oriented guy. That way he can just, you know, create from that back deep. Yeah,
and I do feel like part of the issue is tactically this team got very rigid. We didn't see enough fluidity. We didn't see enough tinkering with trying things, especially early on in the season. And they kind of cemented into the same either 4-4-2 diamond or 4-3-3 occasionally. And I don't think Jack.
But do these pieces fit in the puzzle?
That's the thing. Like, I don't feel like they do. And I do think that Quinn is one that doesn't matter where he is. He's going to play. He's going to give you 100%. Nate, I know Michael Barrera is bringing up in the chat, has potential too. He needs to get better with his finishing, crossing. But I do feel like Jack McGlynn is someone that needs to, his role, I don't think this is his best role. He's not an offensive-minded guy. They're asking him to shoot. They're asking him to score. He's not that guy. He's more of a defensive, possession-oriented disruptor that just sits in the midfield, switches the point of attack, but he's not going to be that final third piece.
It's going to be interesting, you know, this offseason, what Jim is going to have to conjure up, because there's a lot of question marks around this team this offseason, and, you know, we'll see.
Yeah, you don't want to miss any of it. And, of course, we don't want to miss any of the games coming up. Guys, listen, we have MLS Cup playoffs, World Series going on, NFL, NBA, and everything is going on right now, and we don't want to miss it. So we want to make sure that we're staying healthy and we're getting our flu shots with our friends over at Rite Aid, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that's right. Love Rite Aid. It's my spot for these days because, listen, you hear it throughout the office. You hear the right? Like, you're hearing all of that. And, of course, for myself, listen, I get dry skin, man. Like, that cold air hits my skin. I get ashy. So I go to Rite Aid and I get my lotion, you know, stay nice and lathered up. Right?
Oh, boy. Moisturized and lathered.
Yeah. So make sure, guys, you're not missing anything. Right now, Rite Aid is our spot for all of our vaccines, including the latest in COVID-19, and stay up to date on all the other vaccines as well. You can even ask your pharmacist for a vaccine review or their recommendations. The CDC recommends getting a flu shot every year. A person's immune protection from vaccine declines over time. Help protect yourself against flu by getting your annual flu shot at Rite Aid here today. Of According to the CDC, flu vaccination may reduce a child's risk of severe life-threatening influenza by 75%. Help protect your family by getting flu shots at Rite Aid today. That's big for all of my parents out there. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule an appointment at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions do apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for more details. Do not miss anything going on here today. We got Thanksgiving, Christmas coming up. Guys, make sure you're stopping by our friends over at Rite Aid.
Yes, and also while we're talking about taking care of yourself, how about you take care of your finances? That's with TrueMark Financial Credit Union, because they have tons of benefits for you. They've got great rates, lower fees, and they also have things such as their debit card that can earn you rewards points, which means every time you select credit instead of debit at checkout, you actually earn some CU rewards points. And as those points continue to add up, you can then redeem them for cash, for travel, for gift cards, merchandise, and much more. So while you swipe, while you scan, while you tap, you're actually going to be getting yourself rewards points that you can redeem for all the fun things. Plus, with TrueMark Financial Credit Union, you can also monitor your credit score with Savvy Money. That allows you to keep up to date and regularly check your credit score for financial awareness, which I love to check my credit score on the regular. I do. I check all my finances and everything regularly, because you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself against identity theft. You're monitoring for unauthorized activities. You're making sure you're not missing anything on your credit score. Sometimes there might be a balance or a charge that's not supposed to be there. You can make sure to stay up to date with that. And of course, just to build that financial stability by improving your credit habits and maintaining a healthy score. So today, make sure you check out TrueMark Financial. They have tons of benefits for you around their debit card that earns rewards points, their Savvy Money. They have mortgage specialists. They have so many great features and things that can help you in any stage of life that you're in. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA. It's an equal opportunity lender. And for more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY.
All righty. Okay, guys. So unfortunately now we do have to touch upon the bad news here over the weekend. And we do want to be as respectful as possible, as we do have a family in mourning right now. But over the weekend, we got the worst news possible. That 25-year-old goalkeeper for the U, Holden Trent, did pass away. He was in ICU for 5 days, and he passed away suddenly in a tragic passing. And of course, the Philadelphia Union did put out a statement. The Philadelphia Union is devastated by the heartbreaking passing of Holden Trent. While he was a wonderful player and a fierce competitor, he was more importantly a devoted son, brother, fiance, and teammate who made those around him better. He embodied the true meaning of determination, dedication, and perseverance, and he will be deeply missed, the team said over the weekend. Now, I was about to go live for the PHY Flyers post-game show, and I saw this tweet pop up first thing on Twitter, and I had to do one of those double takes because I couldn't believe that happened. Obviously, I saw the story that the family put out that he was in the hospital, he was in critical condition, but I didn't think that he would pass away. Obviously, you don't think of that worst case possible. This is super heartbreaking, Renee. Holden Trent is someone it's funny because he comes after Matt Freese.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm thinking like this could be the potential next Matt Freese. And then the first match of the 23 season against Columbus, I was watching him on the sideline. I was like, I like his athletic ability. This could be someone here. So, the Union talked about it as well. He did have a bright future and unfortunately was taken away. I think what's more heartbreaking, especially myself, I just got married last month.
Yeah.
He was engaged. That's the most heartbreaking part. Like, I can't even imagine what his fiance is thinking at that point. Like, you're planning for a wedding and all of a sudden now, you're planning for a funeral. Like that is extremely heartbreaking. And of course, I have to do some of these tough shows. I had to do the Flyer show for the Johnny Gaudreau, Matt Gaudreau passing.
Yeah.
And Holden, you never want to see these. Like, obviously, like, we love our sports. This is entertainment, but these are people's livelihoods. These are people's lives. And it's super sad to Saturday in the afternoon to see this news.
Yeah, exactly. And I also had to do a double take because the news was scrolling across my phone with all my many updates, and it said the MLS and Philadelphia Union announced the tragic passing of Philadelphia Union goalkeeper, and then it cut. And I was like, okay. I was in the middle of a game at the time. I was like, wait a minute, what? Who just passed? What's going on? So I was doing a game, like checking the updates. And I know I texted you guys, like, did you see this? Because my thoughts always go to their family, And this is before I even realized he was engaged, and they were set to get married December 20th of 2025 for him and his fiance. And I can't imagine what she's feeling in this moment, what his family's feeling in this moment. At 25 years old, my brother just turned 26 last month. And so that's where I always go, like, that's so young. You have so much life ahead of you. You still are in like the prime of your life, so to speak. You're planning for your future. You're planning for what your life is going to look like as a soccer player, but more importantly, as a future husband, as a future, maybe a father, as a brother, as a son, like all these things. And it's heartbreaking to hear that his family is going through this. And, I know everybody is mourning, sharing their thoughts and prayers for his family. But for Holden Trent, it's awful to hear. He was someone we were just starting to kind of get to know a little bit at times, and we didn't get to see a lot of him, honestly. And so to hear the news that's in a point of his career as he was trying to take strides and take that next step, he was in ICU for 5 days and passed. It's just heartbreaking. It's tragic. It's sad. And I cannot even begin to try to wrap my head around and imagine what it feels like on the other side for his poor family. So I know, again, him and his fiance and his family, definitely sending our condolences and thoughts and prayers to them at this awful time. I know the team's been doing a lot in his memory. The league has done, put out some statements. Julian Carranza was wearing, an RIP Holden Trent shirt that he showed off after he scored a goal. It affects everybody because, like you said, regardless who you're a fan of, regardless, as much as we get frustrated with results and we talk playoffs and all these things, at the core, you never want to see anything like this happen.
Yeah. And we all chose this line of work because we love sports. Sports are a big thing. But at the end of the day, we look at these guys and we always think they're like superheroes and we think that they're like invincible and everything like that. But in reality, they're human beings. And we don't know what's going on in their lives. And to hear about this, to hear about Holden, at 25 years old to lose his life, it's saddened. It's a very sad thing. Yeah. And we have to remember that the life is more important than all the extra stuff with the sports or whatever it might be. And we have to remember that there is a family that's attached to Holden, and it's heartbreaking to really hear and to see this news that's, seeing somebody so young tragically lose their life. It hurts, and you're right. 25, there's so much more life. 50 is young. Yeah. For 25, it's incredibly young, and there's so many what ifs, what could be and whatnot. And, you just have to remember who you love and surround yourself with all your loved ones, your family, your friends, and, just appreciate every day with them, because life is so short and anything can happen at any moment in the blink of an eye. Things can change, and it's so important to just appreciate life and appreciate everything that happens in the moment, because that's what life is.
I think that's very well said, Andrew. And I always say, when there's ever deaths like this, it's super sad. But what I do love seeing is people coming together. Yeah. Especially in a day and age where there's so much division, everyone around the league was showing love for this. Even Philadelphia sports, I think, was it the Birds put out something for it, but
of course
everybody really came out. All the Philly teams, all the news outlets, everybody really came out. There's, I'm seeing even in Europe, I saw Liverpool was doing some stuff for him. It's impactful. Because it's not, it becomes like the sport, the world of the sport, it's someone is lost in it. Yeah. And And
that's the thing, it's a shame because it's in these moments that it really makes us reflect and think the most about who we are and what we do and how we support each other and how we come together, because it's so easy to get caught up in our day to day and forget to just check in. You never know what people are dealing with. And right now for the Holden Trent family, to have so much support around them is fantastic. It's needed. And it does remind us sports are bigger than us.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And there's bigger to life than sports, more importantly. Sure. So, it's all about you're connecting, you're having these chances to get to know people, you're meeting new teammates, you're meeting coaches, you're learning about them. And as we were just getting to learn about Holden Trent, at 25 years old. You know, now we're talking about his passing. So it does make you, to your point, Andrew, these are the moments, and Bryant's death was one of the biggest ones that really hit me, that reminds you to cherish every day, and also make sure to like tell people around them you love them, you care about them, give them a hug. Do the extra, go the extra mile, because you never know what the future brings. You never know how much you're leaving an impression on someone, how much you're helping them, how much they need to hear that in that moment. And most importantly, to make sure that you're not having any regrets. So again, so sad to hear. And I do wish his family the best of strength, prayers, love, this terribly difficult time right now, because this is a lot. This is a lot to handle.
And I'll just say this. I know the obvious thing everyone is asking is the cause of death, and I will let you guys speculate, and we do not have anything else for that. But it's overall, this was definitely not the story that we wanted to come away with over the weekend. But like Renee said, we definitely want to give our thoughts and condolences to the Trent family. And we'll definitely talk more about this with our friend Jimmy King in just a second. And I hate to do this, but we do have business to attend to. All right, guys, let's talk real quick about Coors Light, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, listen, with all the sports going on, that right now, we definitely are looking for a beverage of choice, and I always recommend Coors Light, because when the mountains turn blue, it is as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a much smoother finish. And when you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open that Coors Light. Coors Light is a mountain cold refreshment, is crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. So if you're looking for a beverage of choice tonight with Game 4 of the World Series, choose Coors Light. And right now, Coors Light are friends over there. If you visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer, you can get delivered straight to your front door. That's right. Get it delivered with our friends over at Instacart, simply by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY soccer, and you can get it delivered straight to your front door. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Want to give a big thank you, big shout out to our friends over at Coors Light.
Yes, and while we're talking about some great decisions for how you choose to drink and make your body feel, how about how you take care of your body in terms of physical therapy and medical help? Because we've been talking a lot lately about injuries and a lot lately about how you can best manage them with our friends over at Rothman Orthopedic. They are the place to go. I myself have had to go to Rothman way too many times to count to make sure to keep myself in tip-top shape and healthy. And you can too if you've got joints aching, back pains, hands cramping, knee injuries, ankle injuries, whatever it may be. With Rothman Orthopedic, they bring the experience of over 50 years of dedication to our community to be able to provide some great service. And they have a great staff that is specialized in key areas. So with their staff, they have fellowship trained professionals that are working to treat specific areas of the body. And the encouraging thing about that is it's the entire body. And I made the joke before, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, because it really is from your hip to your knee to your spine to your shoulder to your elbow, your feet to your ankles, whatever is going on. They have great support for you, as well as sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation, any sort of orthopedic oncology, trauma, and fracture care. Rothman Orthopedic has it for you. And they proudly serve dozens of communities across Pennsylvania and New Jersey with 30 plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. So great and easy to find in the area for whatever you're looking for. If you need an x-ray, an MRI, if you need some orthotics and bracing, physical therapy, whatever you're looking for, you can find it at Rothman Orthopedic. So as they are consistently performing among the highest volume of hip, knee, shoulder, and ankle replacements in the country with over 60,000, as they have not only high volume, but also that hundreds of thousands of new patients each and every day, they are proud to say they provide the care for more than 50 years as they've participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials. So Rothman Orthopedics, which is specialized in orthopedics and you can visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today with our friends over at Rothman Orthopedic.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys. Now joining us on the show today. Oh, I'm so excited to have him on. You guys see his stuff on Twitter, online, Philly Sports Network. He is awesome, doing a great job of covering the Philadelphia Union. Please welcome on in our dear friend, Jimmy King. Jimmy,
Hey,
what's
how's it
happening,
going,
brother?
guys? How's it
How
going?
you
Can you
feeling,
guys
man?
hear me okay?
Yeah. Can hear you
Right on.
perfectly.
Awesome. Just wanted to start out, beautifully said by all of you regarding
Thank you,
Holden
sir.
Trent. Very, very heartbreaking situation there. I think back to when I was 25 and all the
Yeah.
dreams that I still had. And I think with sports, we kind of forget sometimes that there's still life after retirement, right? There's still life after um, somebody is done playing sports, and people still have families and fiancés and kids and dreams outside of sports. And it's really heartbreaking to see um, anyone's life end like that, right? And at such a young age. So my heart breaks for anybody that calls Holden a friend or family, and my condolences go out to anybody affected as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Well said for your, as well for you. Where were you Saturday when you found the news?
So I was actually getting into a lift to head down to the Union 2 game, which
Oh,
is
wow.
it was really
Oof.
almost kind of it stopped me in my tracks, to be honest. I almost thought about not going down to the game, but I figured that if a bunch of kids have to strap up their boots and play and try to get a playoff win for their friend, it was my duty to be down there and help share that story for them. And I can't
I love that.
imagine what it was like to have to play in those circumstances. And Coach Marlon LeBlanc talked about having to tell his players 30 minutes before the game. Otherwise, they would have found out by the video board that was displayed in the stadium. It's nobody should have to go through that. It's heartbreaking. And to see people in the stadium learn about his passing as the video board was put up was it's hard to describe, and I'm getting emotional about it, and I apologize, but
No, no, no.
it's something that has affected this whole Union community. And I think you never wish for these types of things, but I love to see how much people have come together and supported each other and Holden and his family during all of this.
Yeah, Jimmy, and it is very emotional, and especially since it's still so fresh. It's never, it's always unexpected. It's always unexpected, and to be on a day where you're talking about the Union 2, who have been playing fantastic soccer, looking to punch their tickets to the Eastern Conference Finals, and instead you're sitting there mourning the loss of a 25-year-old who was, as you talk about, a friend, a family member, and so much more, and have to think about what everybody is going through in that moment and for you to even see it firsthand, it's heartbreaking. It's devastating. And I know that you put out a post on Twitter regarding Holden Trent having his number retired and started the conversation and discourse around what should be done in his honor for the Union. And I know people had various opinions on it. And I'd love to get your thoughts, even just to bring that conversation into here of, for anybody that missed it, as you mentioned in your tweet, of the team should honor him by retiring his jersey number 13. And people had various opinions on how else the Union should honor him. So definitely would love to get your thoughts on, now that we've had it's still so fresh, but still time to think about it. What do you feel like is the best way to honor? Are you still thinking a jersey retirement? What else do you think the Union can do so we can make sure to keep, the legacy and the memory of Holden Trent?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to work with the family and what their wishes are and how they would like his legacy to be remembered. I think that is most important.
Definitely.
It's not really about what we want or what we think is right. It's what the family feels most comfortable with and how they would like him to be remembered. And to me, when I kind of think about the differences, I don't think retiring jersey numbers in soccer is as big as, say like NHL or MLB or whatever, basketball. But we have the Ring of Honor in Philadelphia, and there's only one member in it, and it's kind of it's one of those things that's still debated on, who is the next person to kind of go in there, and what qualifies them as worthy to go in it. And I just think this is a little bit different than that. I don't think it really matters how many games someone played, how many wins they had. It really doesn't matter. The bottom line is, thank goodness, it's very seldomly that an active player of an active roster passes away from a sports organization. And I think that person deserves to be cemented in that team's history for forever. And I don't know what the right way to do that is, to be completely honest. The jersey thing feels a little fitting to me because, like I said, the Ring of Honor, we still don't really know kind of what qualifies someone to go in that. Maybe that is something that's fitting for him. But at the end of the day, I would love to see something where he is honored for the rest of time at Subaru Park or wherever the Union end up playing their games, 50 years from now or whatever. But I think that to me is something that I would love to see is something permanent, as long as that is in the family's wishes as well.
That's really well said and great points. I will say this. I think he belongs in the Ring of Honor, and I'll tell you why. Everyone we've talked about that's in, obviously Sebastian Letou, or should be in, whether it be Alejandro Bedoya or Andre Blake, all three of those players, you can think about impact. And if you didn't look at this past weekend and the impact that this has had over the American soccer community, I mean, it's you can see it. It's there. So I think that he belongs in there because this impact has been there so far.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you brought up, Jimmy, about like it shouldn't be about the stats, because someone's going to look at, oh, well, last season he had 5 starts for Union 2 in league play. He played a game this season with them as well. So we're not talking stats because he passed away. This is bigger than stats, numbers, saves, goals against average. It's much bigger than that. And I do think, I like your point about like it's got to come down to what the family wants, but I do think overall there should be something they can figure out to have, whether it's a memorial or it could be a plaque with his image, his name, some words about him. Something should be done to remember his legacy, because I also feel like, bigger picture, what precedent are we setting if the only times we honor someone is if they are breaking scoring records or shutout records? Because in sports, it's family, it's community, it's brotherhood, and to me, that is more important to push that as the focus point here of, no, this is one of our brothers. He was supposed to be playing with this team. We're supposed to be talking about him with the Union 2 this past weekend, whether he played in the game or not, to be there, not to be having his face on the Jumbotron and us talking about rest in peace Holden Trent. So to me, it's bigger than stats in the same way, because this is family, this is community, and he's a part of this family, and being that he passed away so young, you have to do something to remember him by.
Absolutely. And Coach Marlon LeBlanc talked about after the win, they kind of understood that in order to be able to talk about Holden with as much time and respect as they wanted to, they needed to go out and honor him and win. Otherwise, all the questions are about losing the game. And that's kind of the double-edged sword of sports, is that you have to talk about both of those things no matter what. But he talked about how inspiring it was for those young kids and how much they wanted to go out there and honor him the best way they could. And they did that, and they got it done. And I mean, it's just a really sad situation. But one of the things that really stuck out to me was Marlon also made sure to note that Holden went out a hero. I don't know exactly when this decision was made. It kind of seems a little hard to understand based off of what report you read, but it seems as if Holden made a decision fairly recently to become an organ donor. And the family, obviously there's links going around for donations, which I will share on my Twitter profile for anybody that's tuning in that is, someone that reads some of my stuff. They can find that to donate if they want. But the family has also asked that if people want to help remember Holden, that they can sign up to become an organ donor themselves, if that's something they feel comfortable with. And they view that as Holden's kind of last testament to how much he really appreciated helping other people. And I think that's really special and a really big testament to who he was. So I wanted to make sure to share that as well. And I'll share that link around as well for people.
Truly a hero. And I love that little tidbit there as well, being the organ donor. Real quick, like obviously you want to get some of your analysis. So obviously the Union 2, they played super inspired, like you mentioned there. Talk to us a little bit about the match and kind of how it played out. Obviously, the Union 2 win in 4-3 and PKs, punching their ticket into the Eastern Conference Final there. What was the action like on Saturday?
Yeah, it's good. I have a lot of fun watching that team. I mean, Union's whole foundation is built off the academy, and it's one of those things when the first team doesn't make the playoffs, you can go and watch the academy team and see these things that the Union front office talks about and boasts about. And the problem is how do you keep some of those people? And one of those people that I was watching all night on Saturday and thinking, how do the Union keep this person? Because they need to, is Neil Pierre at center back. I mean, kid's I think he just turned 17, but he looks well above his age. He's strong. He's physical. He has this ability to pin balls over the top, and it's really quite impressive what he is doing at quite a young age. And I think it's going to be hard for Union to keep him around based off of what other people have been hearing and saying and stuff. But you can see it right away. That's someone, and especially we're talking after a season where Union were really bad defensively. We haven't really had that standout defender homegrown. Andrew Craig just hasn't really worked out. So Neil Pierre is someone I was really high on watching that game. But as a whole, I thought they put in a really good effort. They did give up that late goal, and just after watching the first team this season, it was kind of one of those, oh man, here we go moments. But the difference was right away you saw the team look around and pick each other up, and the crowd actually helped pick the boys up too. And they had a couple chances to steal the game late and get a goal in overtime. And luckily they were able to get it done in PKs. Couple of huge saves by Andrew Rick. Great clinching PK by CJ Olney. And overall, the vibes are good down in Chester for Union too. Really great crowd for MLS Next Pro, in all things considered. And would love to see more people out there on Saturday night as they try to, like you said, punch their ticket to the final.
Yeah, and there's a lot of history that this team has been able to accomplish so far. As the youngest team in the Eastern Conference, they had the highest finish in the conference table in club history with their 15 wins and 52 points in the regular season. They also lead the league in goals, which we love to see because we love that to carry over as well. Second best defense in the East. Definitely would love to see that with the Union senior team. And then as we talk about that win, it was their first time ever beating NYCFC's second team in the postseason. For now, their first ever, of course, time hosting the Eastern Conference Final against Columbus Crew 2. This group has a lot of young talent, and I know there's been a number of conversation around the homegrowns for the Union as that being their foundation and needing to make a tweak, whether it was Kai Wagner's post-game comments or just the discourse around the team. But when you look across their roster, you highlight and can look at players like Edward Davis, CJ Olney, Frankie Westfield. They have a lot of talent front to back. And we have been seeing this group has the potential of guys that can be on the senior team. Coming off of Quinn Sullivan just gets a new contract. The whole homegrown conversation is very fresh. What are your thoughts on not only the current homegrowns, Quinn, Nate, Jack, all throughout the team, but also this up-and-coming crew? Because although we are ready to move away from some of the homegrowns, I actually feel like this is not the time. There might be some really great homegrowns that they have across this roster that can be poised to be a strong fit for the senior team if needed. So I don't know. It's a weird balance. Of course, there needs to still be more outside of the homegrowns, but it does feel like there are a few players on this group that can help the senior team. What are your thoughts on who those players are and honestly the future for the homegrown foundation and this group in general, I should say?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just talked about Neil Pierre, and I think he's someone, like I just said, is someone that Union are going to try really, really hard to at least get under their belt first team minutes for a little bit. And it's going to be difficult, but there are a number of other guys that I think maybe not so much next year, but the year after that, you should be looking to kind of break in and get some solid first team minutes, and maybe even some of those guys next year. Frankie Westfield's a guy that I think prior to this season, you probably weren't thinking about that, but has had an incredible year, has put up close to 10 digit or close to double digit goals from left back, left wing back position, which we know Union love to have some attacking threat from their left back with Kai Wagner, who doesn't really have a backup right now. So that is someone that kind of, with not really seeing anything from Isaiah LaFleur this year with his injury, that's still kind of open for Frankie to maybe kind of see if Union can test the waters there in preseason next year. And then of course you've got guys like David Vasquez and CJ Olney who have been highly rated in Union's hierarchy for a number of years now, and I think are starting to get not only they're not only starting to find their skill set and their confidence, but they're starting to get that little bit of kind of I don't want to say swagger, but almost that sense of belonging, and they can sense that they have the ability to take that next step up and compete for first team minutes in the next couple of years. So I think there's a few guys that are ready to kind of compete for some minutes, and I think that's something Union need is some competition.
Definitely.
In the squad, whether you want to argue that's the type of competition they need, or if it's if they need to bring in someone with more history and experience to add that competition. That's a fair debate, but I think in terms of homegrowns, I think you've got a really solid foundation and a couple decent apples to pick from in the next couple of years in order to kind of supplement your squad. I don't know that any of them are going to be the cornerstone in the next couple of years, but I think instead of going and trying to get somebody from X League, third tier, there's a couple options from within that you'll see come up naturally and organically.
Jimmy, so let's stay on those homegrowns a little bit. So at the top of the show, we talked about the Quinn Sullivan extension that happened over the week here. The U22 initiative was used on him, and I know some in the fan base won't be too happy. Will the Union spend money? We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on that one. But look, dude, he had a great year, right? He played over 2,400 minutes. He had 5 goals and 11 assists. He truly married himself to that right shuttle position. Super intrigued to what we're going to see from him next year. Want to see him be more clinical in that final third. I think that's the last piece for him in his game. What do you see in 2025 from Quinn Sullivan, Jimmy?
I think you guys said it exactly right there, is that he looks a lot of times like Union's most dangerous player with the ball at his feet, the guy that's going to make things happen, going to beat guys off the dribble and kind of make things happen when you need a goal. But we did see quite a bit him fail to put in that final ball and hit the goal when he needed in kind of the middle stretch of that season. But he did pick it up late in the season with that goal in the decision game decision day game. And I think that you can see that he is an important piece to Union's kind of attacking presence. I don't know that we have necessarily found his best position. I think in the current system, his best position is that right shuttler. But I don't know that is his best position. And I think you could say the same thing about Jack McGlynn as well. So I think it's important that they locked him up. I think he deserves the pay raise that he got, or we don't know the number yet, but I would assume he's getting a pay raise with that U22 initiative slot. And I think that is not only earned, but is it's good business by the Union, who have treated Cavan very well in order to keep him around. I think it's just as good for them to go out and say, you know what, we're going to take care of your brother as well, and give him kind of the upgrade in contract that he deserves as well.
Love
Definitely.
it. I love it. All right, so before we let you go, who are the 2 teams that will be in the MLS Cup final?
Oof, man. Let me see here. Let me just look up the bracket real quick. I mean, I think, you have to like Columbus and kind of
Yeah.
their ability to beat teams in knockout soccer, but
I would love that.
It's really hard to ignore what Miami's
man.
doing right now. The one thing I will say, guys, I know I'm straying from the question a little bit here, but I think it's weird. I don't really like that. Like LA beats Colorado 5-0 in game 1. They could end up losing the next 2 games 1-0.
Yeah.
Not a fan of it either.
And be knocked out. I just think it's I didn't even watch a lot of the game 1s because I know they don't really matter that much. But to answer your question, not digress too much, I think right now I'm going either one of the 2 teams from LA and Miami.
Miami.
That's fair.
We just went through an LA New York World Series. Oh God.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's gonna be rough. Well, Jimmy, listen, dude, we appreciate your time, man. We'll have to have you on again here in the offseason. You do such a fantastic job over at Philly Sports Network, man. We will talk soon, all right, brother?
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks
Jimmy.
for having me, guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your week.
You too. See
You
ya.
as well. Jimmy King, one of the best here in the city, covering the Philadelphia. Always love catching up with him. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the playoff format either. Best of 3,
It's super silly.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Why? Just be knockout, be done.
And this is the problem we have with the league is that like with the playoffs, it's so important for every sport. That's where
It
a lot
is.
of these sports make their money. And we can't find a consistent system that works,
No.
that's entertaining. Like no one wants to see a best of 3 series.
Not
in
round
soccer.
1.
No.
Not round
Make
1.
it knockout, make it legs.
Yeah.
And then just-
leg would be fine. And that's on brand with
Yeah,
soccer. There's a
I'm
lot of
fine with
aggregate
legs.
scores
Yeah.
versus like a single elimination.
Yeah.
A best of 3 round 1 is not exciting. First of all, it's too many. It's a lot of games already. I don't mind if the conference finals and MLS Cup are best of 3, but it does not make sense to me to have this round 1 be best of 3. It's just odd. Unless you were going to go the opposite direction and like best of 3, best of 5 situation, but it just is, it's random. It's just
Yeah.
trying to get to your point, JP. This is a lot of extra soccer you're getting because think about it. There's 8 different series going on. They're all best of 3 right now. Soccer, money, cha-ching.
Yeah, but I'm sure they're not getting a lot of viewers. That's the problem.
No.
Because obviously we Apple TV, which is that has to be a episode this offseason too. We have to
We have the
break
whole
down
Apple
Apple
TV.
TV.
Complain
Well, there were
about
some
Apple
good
TV.
results.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a penalty shootouts as
Yep.
Seattle won Monday night over Houston. So last night in game 1, but again, it's best of 3, so that
Right.
might not matter. They did outshoot Houston 20-7. That was you don't mind if you get a nice penalty shootouts, you get down to the wire games, but to have one game be lopsided, knowing that essentially, to your point, Andrew, of it not being a leg or an aggregate score, that 5-0 LA score could absolutely mean nothing if they don't win one of the next 2. Crazy.
It's a crazy world we live in. And of course, over in the East, Miami beat Atlanta game 1, 2-1. Orlando beat Charlotte 2-0. Cincinnati beat NYCFC 1-0, which I saw the fun stat.
Cincinnati is a team to watch, though. I was reading an article about them, and I was like, actually, this kind of makes sense because naturally, every team that's played the Union has had a great swing after they play the Union throughout the season, where they now start playing great soccer. And for Cincinnati, after their game against the Union, of course, that was a 4-game winless streak they were on. They break that, and they've been feeling like they've been saying internally is the confidence has been there. They've been playing much better. They're getting back to what is their identity of Cincinnati soccer on both ends of the pitch, figuring out a lot of things, making some tactical changes. So they might be a sneaky team to keep an eye on.
Only thing that concerns me, and we talked about this with Cincy Soccer Talk, Coach Koff, they are not very dynamic in the attack.
Yes.
Everything goes through Luciano Costa, and even the Union have slowed him down. So if they don't have anything else, and the one goal they scored against NYCFC was a defensive breakdown.
Exactly.
They left the backside open, wide open for Luciano Costa. So he gets a rebound and just a nice little deflection, gets the ball in.
Yeah.
But they need to find other ways to score, and it may be too late, but we'll see. If they do win, they'll play the winner of Columbus and the Red Bull. Tonight we have some games. If you want to do some channel surfing, you got Columbus and
one channel.
Red Bull. Well,
If you want to do some Apple TV surfing.
Gotta get up YouTube TV.
some
go to
Apple
Apple
TV
TV.
scrolling.
Oh
Yeah.
God, that's rough. And then tonight, there was another one tonight. Oh yes, RSL in Minnesota is as well. But yes, I want to give a big shout out. Love you, diehards. Thank you so much for tuning on in. Thank you for everyone for checking out. Want to close out here with some of these comments. Michael Barrera finished out. Pierre should be on the first team in 2025. Makanya made it. No excuse. Pierre can be in the spring. This team needs competition behind their starters.
Agreed.
Yeah, Pierre is definitely built for this. So definitely would love to see his kind of prospects. I'm so jealous of what Columbus has, and we're always going to be talking about
I always say
one.
that's the team that I wish the Union played like. I love how they attack. I love their runs. I love everything about their offense. Maybe this needs to be a Columbus Crew show. Just kidding. Just kidding. But they're a team that if the Union are taking notes, like watch what they're doing. To me, it is them and Inter Miami too. It's their Eastern Conference to win, and I do think the LA teams, it's their Western Conference to win.
Yep.
And I don't see anybody that's playing better soccer for both sides of the field for a full game than those 4 teams.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, this best of 3 format, but hey, here we are. We'll see what happens.
We shall see. We'll talk about the rest of the playoffs here next week on our live show. Every Tuesday, 1 o'clock, live here on PHLI Sports. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing. Make sure you guys are becoming diehards.
Yes.
You get some fresh gear like this. And of course, we have our introductory rate going on right now. $48 for the year.
Steal.
$4 a month. That's literally
I know.
coffee every day.
To steal.
Yeah.
For most people.
Great content from some great writers.
I don't even know what coffee prices are because I don't drink it, but that sounds about right. And best of luck to the Philadelphia Union second team as they're hosting the Columbus Crew 2.
Woo.
This Saturday, that Eastern Conference final will be at Subaru Park. I know some of you in the chat were mentioning it. 6 p.m. Nice, good time.
Yeah, get
not
down
too
there.
early, not too late, as you're going to have that MLS Next Pro Cup on the line, seeing if they can punch their tickets. So
Love
go
it.
support the Crew.
It's like the price of a latte.
Well, not the Crew. Oh, no, I said that wrong. Go support. I was saying go support
You got
the
the Crew on your mind.
No, I was trying to say go support the Crew as in the guys, and I just realized that's misleading. Go support our guys as they beat up on hopefully
Renee's
the Crew.
trying to force herself with the transfer.
So bad. Effective immediately, Renee Washington has now been transferred to the CLMB
CLMB?
Crew show.
CLMB.
But best of luck to all of our Union 2 guys as they go up
Yes,
against
great
the
job,
Columbus
guys.
Crew 2. Please go win the Eastern Conference final and give us more great soccer.
I love it. Well, that's going to do it from us. For Andrew Frazier behind the glass, Renee Washington, of course, I am JP Zapata. We will see you guys next week. Take it easy. And as always, DOOP on Philly.
Don't cancel me.
We all silly like the mayor.